Alright guys, so you're going to start with a blank sheet of paper. It can be this way or that way, it's up to you. You're going to start with some coloring items like crayons. We'll just use crayons. You're going to choose a color, and we're going to follow Larry the Lion poem. What color will you choose? I think I'll choose, let's see. I'm going to choose my first color to use, and we're going to follow the poem. So, Larry the Lion is a friend of mine, and he can make 3 straight lines. So, pick your first color. I chose purple. Can you draw a vertical line with that color you chose? Time for the next line. Diagonal. Pick a new color. Draw a diagonal line across your paper with your crayon. And a horizontal. Remember, he can make 3 straight lines. Pick a new color and draw your horizontal line anywhere in your paper. That means flat. So any curve, he can learn with a twist and a turn. So, new color. With a twist and a turn. So let's draw a twisty line. Or you can do a spiral that's also a twist. Our lines should be coming together now with all different types of lines. So, and when he's out of his tangle, he can make a nice angle. That's where we saw the V there. Let's grab a new color. We want it to be angled and go up and down and up and down. Bunch of V's. There's our zigzag. We are done with the crayons. Now we're going to move on to watercolor. Here you see I have watercolor pencils that you can use, and also watercolor paint. Use whatever you have. We also need water and a paper towel to blot your paintbrush, and a paintbrush. Here's where I show you how to use the watercolor pencils. Whatever color you did with your line, you might want to choose a color that shows up kind of different next to it, like this green against the yellow. But again, if you don't have watercolor pencils, you don't have to use them. It's just an option if you do, and you don't have watercolor. Okay, I'm going to go to the part with the water, where we add water to our paintbrush. Let's keep our paintbrush having a good hair day. We don't want to mash our paintbrush at all down. So don't mash your paintbrush on the paper. And gently use your paintbrush in the water too. You'll go over what you colored in the pencil, if you're using watercolor pencils, to kind of get all the color to smooth out a little bit. So that's what you do if you use watercolor pencils. Let's move on to if we're using watercolor paint. So if you're using watercolor paint, you want to get some water on your paintbrush, nice and gently. Pick the color you want, and gently swirl it around in that color, adding water to the color, because we need water to make watercolor and get the paint to work. Just make a nice swimming pool of color until you get a good amount of color on your paintbrush. And then paint over those lines that you drew. And watch what happens. Does the paint mix with the colors from the crayons? No, they don't. The crayons resist the watercolor. That's because crayons are waxy. If you use oil pastels, oil in the oil pastels also resist, but you'll probably be using crayons. So I'm just painting over those lines, filling in the background different ways, until a lot of my paper is covered. And I see how the watercolor paint resists the crayons or whatever you use to draw. Whenever you're done, make sure you always clean off your brush. The paintbrush can go back in the palette. And set everything aside and let your paper dry. And there we go.